Everybody, and that is Idiocracy. I had a lot more of an enjoyable time than I thought I would. I'll be honest with you guys. And a lot of it comes to just the level of detail that these guys, whether it was, all through, comedic purposes, or maybe there was some form of deeper message within this comedy. I don't really think there was. I think they genuinely, from the vibe of this, they genuinely just wanted to make this a comedy. And depending on when this came out, I don't think they realized just how uh, relatable this film is, especially now. So I don't think they meant to have a deeper discussion with this film. I think it was honestly just made just for as comedy purposes. But as time went throughout, similar to similar to GTA, it used to be a satire, and now it's the satire is real life. I think it's something like that that's happening. But regardless, massive efforts towards the VFX and the production design, just all the really cool details. I mean, this is watchable or rewatchable just off of the details you'd probably catch on your second or third or fourth viewing, depending on how many brain cells you have left. And it's just pretty damn cool. I gotta give respect where and credit where it's due, because it was really fascinating seeing all of the iterations and the different types of rebrandings that they've done with actual brands that are here. And I think that is such a cool way of world building that they didn't even need to do it, but I'm happy they did. I think that not only made the film better, just overall, but it made it that much funnier. And I think that's really, really cool. Now, for the overall concept and the overall story, yeah, I had a good time with this one. I mean, guys, it doesn't take too much for me to have a good time and to laugh. I mean, I grew up with like Adult Swim. I grew up with like Robot Chicken, and I watch Eric Andre. I really love absurdity, and it's really great to have some laughs in here that is just like, yo, this is just absolutely, this is mental, this is just ridiculous. If anything, I think it shows you that we can all coexist together, whether your IQ is low or your IQ is high. I feel like we can all learn to laugh at the end of the day. However, I don't know, it's getting to a place where it just might not be funny anymore. Just, I don't know, man. Like, it's getting really scary out there. So I don't know. I really hope that you guys read books, man. Like, seriously, please, for the love of God, do it. I'm not trying to flex, but low key, I mean, at this point, this might be a flex. Who knows? But like, I mean, I get like 2 or 3 hours a day. Maybe, like on your iPhone, you get how many hours a day you put on your iPhone. I probably get like 2 or 3 hours. I think sometimes it gets up to 4 if I'm like using my GPS or talking with somebody. But I think the average for America is like 7 or 8 hours, and then outside of America, it's like 10 hours. Over in Japan, it's like 12 or 14. Guys, it really be that phone. It's. I'm not trying to like lecture anybody or anything like that, because again, I can't solve this. I'm not like not sure. In this film, I can't solve all of this. But I think it is reasonable to at least try to encourage people to engage in deeper thinking and more agency towards the individual. Guys, don't lose yourself throughout this. All right, please don't, and don't try to find yourself through your children. Okay, this is a one in a lifetime thing for you. Have as much agency as you can, because that's what makes existence worth it. So yeah, hopefully we don't get closer and closer to losing that, but whichever happens, it's already written, and I'm just here to vibe. I'm happy that you guys are here too, and hopefully you got like some pimp or some other type of pimps chasing after you in the future. As always, stay healthy.
Because that took place in 2505, and We're in 2025, and there's a lot of things pointing to some of the things that took place in Idiocracy. Based off of present day America, I'm pretty sure you can look at things that are going on right now and look at this film and make some connections. You're definitely connecting the dots. I'll let you connect those dots. My biggest takeaway from the film is Joe's character arc. I love that he was a normal guy, essentially a nobody, did the least amount of work as possible in order to get by. He just wanted to lay back and allow everybody else around him to make the decisions, everyone else around him to take charge. But Joe was put in a society where the roles were switched, and essentially everyone was him. Everyone became below average, or just average, and no, they were below average in this film. They were simply just followers. And there was no one in 2505 that was a leader. No one who was at the forefront of education or innovation. You can see how a society regressed over time. You know, they had to turn off their brains. And so that provided a way for Joe to step up and to lead. There was always room for Joe to lead. He just never took the initiative. So when he was placed here in this society, he was forced to be the leader. So that's what I really liked story-wise. I think technology is great, and it has its, pros and it has its cons, but I feel just a little bit, the more and more advanced we become in technology and it's doing things for us, are we in some way limiting our minds and our thought process? Critical thinking is slowly dying, and we're relying on technology to tell us what is right. I know it's creepy for me when you on Google. I think when they first released the AI feature, when you would search up something, Google or that AI feature would tell you a specific thing. But what if we get to a future where it's like AI's feeding us all this information, but what if it's not true? Like how they were saying that Charlie Chaplin was over the Nazi party. That's simply not true in history. But are we getting to that point where even our history is becoming erased? Like, we can really talk about it. Like, I know it was a funny movie. I don't want to get into it. You can draw your own conclusions. But even with the education system, what is that even going to look like in the next 5 years? Are we just going to redefine history? Are we just going to change our past? Like, what is really about to happen? That's all I'll say. It's just interesting.
That was interesting. That was cool though, man. That was cool. Probably not got the repeat watchability factor that, say, Office Space had, but definitely enjoyed it. I had no idea what it was going to be about going into it. Absolutely no idea whatsoever. And to be fair, I think that's pretty good. Like, not having a foggiest. There was some really, really funny dialogue in it, that's for sure. But then there was a lot of like lowbrow stuff. But it was very like self-aware, because obviously you were just there with Luke Wilson just being like, who are these people and how are they functioning in everyday life? Some of the jokes weren't that funny to me, but then there were some jokes which I think more than made up for it. There were some that just had me, that weren't even like, I don't know, it was just, sometimes it was just the way that people said things, or just the retorts that I just weren't expecting. Rather than being these big kind of jokes, it was just these kind of small things that people were saying or doing, or expressions or something, I did like the whole world that had been created, the whole like environment, the set design was great, and the kind of story that had been put in place, which definitely at first reminded me of Forever Young and then Demolition Man. So it was like a kind of baby between those two in this like, in this comedic world. And there was a lot of people in this who I just didn't know were in it. So that was a nice surprise. Is this something I'm going to watch over and over again, like Office Space? Probably not, but it definitely had enough in there for the time that I was watching it. It had some funny jokes, man. It had some funny jokes. It definitely had me like laughing all the way through. It's just not at the level of Office Space, and maybe it's like unfair of me to, put those two together. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just going to leave it there. Please like the video.
It's in the yeah, the 2006 film Idiocracy. That's my reaction to it. Interesting premise. I can see a couple of things, right? I can see why, one, it was not critically accepted at the time, because I think if you can't get past, it's a smart film. It's a smart film. It has funny satire about how the world is, and Um, and honestly, just an interesting take on society at the time, and just, kind of how the let's say the stupefaction, right? Like us getting dumber, and us sort of falling into these luxuries that we have, right? It's a great sort of way to talk about those things. But if you can't get past the crude jokes and the, like, juvenile humor that Mike Judge sort of threw in there, it's kind of hard to accept what the satire is and why they're doing it. But it's genius in its writing. I think there's some great bits in there um, about making fun of all kinds of things, not only corporations, government, society, commercialization, like you name it, and they're throwing some daggers at it. So, like, it's an interesting concept of a movie. I can see why it was not widely accepted at the time, but obviously over the course of a couple of, over the course of time, people found it to be a cult classic, or people found it to be a very interesting film. Now, in the intro, I talked about the parallels between kind of like the political stuff, and I kind of see some of that, but I don't think that's the point of the movie. I don't think the point of the movie was to sort of say that it's a direct satire of our current situation. And I don't know, I see how people do draw the parallels to our current situation or our current status, right? But I don't know that it was intended that way. Because at least just that's my opinion. I just think it was more about the commercialization of things. I think it was a lot about how we are getting to be very lazy as a society, and doing things that were more for commercial. There is an element though of the not being educated, sort of being dumbed down. I made a comment about TikTok videos. Like, people learn things from social media, and they learn things from different sources that oftentimes will shape your opinions, and whether or not it's right or wrong, we don't even check it, right? We don't even do those things to fact check things. So I think that's a great bit that I got from this movie. Overall, I'm glad I watched the movie. I was surprised at its runtime. It was a short film, only an hour and about 20 minutes. So I was kind of surprised that it was as short as it was. That was a bit of a shock to me. So that was interesting. And in that runtime, there just seemed to be kind of a rush to the end. I think the ending was a bit rushed. There didn't seem to be a good conclusive wrapping of the story, at least for me. But again, there were different bits. There were things that, like, and of course, the time machine element was interesting, and it kind of kept me hooked to the movie to say, well, I want to see this time machine. Is the time machine going to work? I kept thinking about the possibilities of them going back. What's going to change? And then turns out it's just a ride. It's just a ride somewhere in an amusement park. So I think that's where for me, it just missed the mark of delivering like on a pretty solid premise. But overall, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was great. The rewatchability. This is how I measure whether or not a movie is really good. It is rewatchable for me. I think there are jokes that I probably missed. I think I want to rewatch it to see what elements I missed, and to kind of analyze some of the scenes a little bit. The one thing that is good is that I have an editor, so they kind of piece this together. But the bad thing is, when I used to edit the videos, I would be able to sort of pick up on things that I missed during the first viewing. So I will watch the movie over again. Will it live up to rewatchability? I don't know. So I'm going to give this about a 3.5, 4 out of 5. I thought it was a solid film. I like the satire. I like the messaging behind it. I like how they did that. And again, if you can't get past juvenile jokes, that's going to hinder whether or not you like this movie or not, or whether you enjoy this movie. I'm not a big fan of Dak Shepard. But again, thought he was pretty solid. My Rudolph was great. President Camacho was amazing in this. And Luke Wilson is just kind of the every man. He's like the average Joe. So I think he fit the bill very, very well. And the fact is, again, it's a Mike Judge film. You have to take it with a grain of salt, and you have to understand where his comedy comes from. So I'm a big fan of it. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed the reaction. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, if you guys like these types of reactions, you like this type of movies, and you like the things that I do on this channel, please make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure you guys hit me up in the comments. What's your favorite part of the movie? What
Oh, Idiocracy. You pleased me so, unspeakably so, because every step of that way, I was befuddled at how great I found this to be. The commentary, the the forecasting, the satirization of the intellectual climate in America, the world. And Mike Judge saw this way back in freaking what was this, '06? We probably was writing this in '05 or some other. Yeah, just I'm tempted to call this a dystopian future, but what with the atmosphere that obtains in 2025. I mean, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but it seems to be the case that there's this emphasis on a lack of critical thinking. But that's another video. That's another video. Idiocracy, such a fitting title, right? So fitting because we like to throw the word meritocracy around, but there are certain organs, there's certain aspects of the government, the world, society that is a plutocracy. Like Kim Kardashian, all due respect, more power to her, but should she be the one getting people out of prison, getting clemency? But no, no, no. Okay, I digress. Now that's another video. That is another video. Yeah, Mike Judge. I've never seen him write anything or be a part of, produce that was not worth my time. This is a worthwhile endeavor to me. I and we have this mediocre, this average army librarian who gets inducted into an experiment because of his mediocrity. No loved ones, no one to know if he's gone missing. Such a conspiracy of a kind, corruption. And then circumstances unfold to find him catapulted 500 years later, where society is unrecognizable. His mediocrity is championed and seen as, a threat and a marvel. He first got unthawed, unfrozen, and woke up after that slumber. And he was like, when he was speaking, he's like, he could understand people. When he spoke, they thought he was pompous, arrogant, pretentious. And boy, that I relate to that oh so much. Because here, if I upload a video to YouTube and I use a 4-syllable word, a $5 word, as it were, you would think I would be, with the response in the comments, you would think I would curse their mother out. I hurled some expletives at their mother when all I did was utilize the language. And it's interesting that Mike Judge saw this coming in 2000, what was this, 2006, early odds. He had a finger on the pulse. He saw the direction society was trending. You know, fellow English speakers, man. This is an interesting analysis of the world, political landscape, you know, sociologically, economically. Brondo, Brondo. It has electrolytes. And someone who has watched Mad Men all the way through like 10 times, I find marketing and advertising so fascinating, so endlessly fascinating. How to engender appeal and interest in a product just by creating a narrative about it. And that has a lot of applications, like politically, in every aspect of our lives. We're natural born storytellers. We want to hear stories told well. And it taps into politics. Like, I'm not like extremely political, but I stay informed. I can't have my head in the sand, but Mike Judge seemed to be recognizing and clocking the ideologues, the rhetoric, appealing to people's base desires and prejudice and pandering to them as opposed to using logical argument, i.e., our protagonist not sure what was his real name. I'm so it got ingrained to me, not sure that I forgot, which is a metaphor somewhere in there if you squint your eyes. But our protagonist, he found himself in a maelstrom of disrespect and a president played by Terry Crews. Terry freaking Crews. Shout out Terry Crews, man. I love Everybody Hates Chris. He's great in that. Obviously, he's great in White Chicks, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And he did this incompetent president justice. I must confess. I must confess. So this mediocre guy, army librarian, he gets arrested because he's unscannable. That was nightmarish. Like judges saying we're all gonna have scans, and it's not too far off. Everything's online. You know, if you have a YouTube, social media, everything's being tracked. Edward Snowden, you might have heard of him, and our digital footprint is as as widespread as our carbon footprint, if you'll allow the analogy. Spectacle. Mike Judge was tapping, this movie was tapping into the idea of spectacle and entertainment. And I can't shake the suspicion that this was based like Mike Judge read Infinite Jests. Like I have like 200 more pages in that book. But I feel like Mike Judge read that book and was also inspired by it and injected it, the philosophy, the themes, the subject matter into this movie here. Because what David Foster Wallace projected about entertainment, it came to fruition in many ways. Like he has in the book, he has this narrative of TP, which is basically this mega entertainment system at home. And at the beginning, when not sure he woke up, Luke Wilson's character woke up and he smashed through the window. The guy didn't even turn around. He has multiple screens up, consuming a lot of entertainment. That's what Infinite Jest was about, and that is like eerily similar to what goes on today. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. I have Netflix on, I'm scrolling on my phone, I have music on, all types of stuff at once. Our attention span, you know, instant gratification, our dopamine receptors. Bo Burnham talked a lot about this with his press run he did on eighth grade. So if you haven't seen eighth grade or his press run about it, he all tapped into that movie's told through the lens of an eighth grade girl and growing up in the digital age with social media and the internet. Everything's at the end of your fingerprints, and these corporations just want your attention. They just want your attention, and the minutia, the details of that. It is immersive, it's compelling, it's disturbing. Yeah, because this movie is absurd. Like I'm a card carrying absurdist. Andy Kaufman's of the world, Albert Camus, that is my bread and butter. And so this movie had that in spades. It was unabashed, unashamed about being goofy, silly, ludicrous, wild, and taking wild swings while also giving some intellectual heft, if you will, some seriousness, some vulnerable swings. Gave us an emotional core between Rita and Luke Wilson's character. Why do I not remember his name? Is it John? John, final answer. He was going to be humanity's savior. Humanity's savior. And we need you in order to stay out of prison. That's a funny writing choice. You know, the situation is like, has a lot of comedic grist for the mill. Be our savior. Like he's gonna cure, what did he say? Acne and car sickness. You're gonna do it all. Help our crops grow. And to state the obvious, the common sense standpoint is demonized in this world, it's vilified. And this has a stark portrayal of a mercantile society, money hungry, greed, avarice, you know, at the expense of logical reasoning. Yeah, this is a feat. This is a feat. And not to mention the commentary on the lowered standards of what it takes to be put in powerful positions, cabinet members, the political machinery, IQs, mob rule. So absurd. Ingenious, man. This is an ingenious film. And I don't even care what Rotten Tomatoes has to say about this, because often is the case that I have a wonderful movie experience. I go to Rotten Tomatoes and it's like 23. I don't care. I'm standing on business with this. I that's a hill I'm willing to die on. A king of the hill I'm willing to die on. That this is a fantastic movie. And there's so much to contemplate, so much to analyze, and compare and contrast with the year of our Lord 2025. Here we sit in June of 2025, and there's a lot of overlap and a lot of, caricature. There's some caricature, but in some exaggeration. But at the core of it, I would say, in my humble opinion, I think Mike Judge hit the nail on the head in what he foresaw. He presaged, or is it presaged? I think it depends on whether you're American or British. But anyway, what he saw in advance about the future is startling. To be in the mind of Mike Judge, I can't wait for King of the Hill reboot. And elderly Bobby, what? Dale Gribble ran for political office, what? Are y'all fellow King of the Hill fans? Me and my granddaddy used to watch that all the time. That's a nine. Bobby. Oh. Yeah, so I think that about does it for my review of this glorious film. I think I covered all of my initial thoughts and reactions and feelings. Don't think I left anything out. Yeah, I think that's about the size of it. The movie stuck the landing. It's always interesting how a script is gonna give us 90% of a movie to find a way to end it. I think that's the hardest part of a story. Coming from a person who's written a couple of screenplays, a couple of short stories, how do you decide that, okay, this is the final brush stroke, as it were? This is the final piece of the puzzle. Roll credits, cinema sins. I don't know. But the anti-intellectualism that permeates this movie has a, very unseemly common denomination with the present day contemporary culture, much to my both chagrin and dismay. You hear me? But yeah, that's about it. You can get the early access if you want to support the channel further. You're doing the best thing by watching this on YouTube or Patreon. If you're on YouTube, we're almost at 10,000 subscribers. I got like 100 more subscribers till I'm there. So if you're watching this and I don't have the pleasure of your subscription, do your boy a solid. Smash that like button. Leave me some leave me some comments down below. Algorithm, you might have heard of it. Patreon, heating up. We're coming in hot on the Patreon. Appreciate all of you. Legitimately, earnestly, like literally cannot do this without you. Your support means the world. It allows me to do what I do every day, which I love. So you can get early access to the movies that you upload on YouTube over there on the Patreon. Mr. Valentine Reacts. We have different tiers. Some allow you to get full length versions because you can't upload the whole shebang on YouTube and you have to whittle it down so you don't get flagged for copyright. That old bugaboo, that old specter. So I don't know. They use the R word in this movie. They're not gonna let me upload that F word aplenty. There was a plethora of F words here. Bundle of sticks. Bundle of sticks. So we'll see how that goes during the editing process. But if you're watching this on Patreon, you've seen it in its entirety. And I'm not, I'm not one to be politically correct all the time. I understand the importance of analyzing and exploring a language in context, and not being overly sensitive as to what words you include or omit to try to cater to a particular demographic. But I digress. I digress. Language should be explored unfettered within reason, of course, within reason. Two things can be true. Okay, let me do a U-turn out of this cul-de-sac. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was 2006's Idiocracy. Shout out to Mike Judge. And as always, until we meet again.